I'm holding myself accountable. California teacher cancels herself as a white person teaching Spanish. And I say, no loss. You know what other things that she was probably sneaking into the lessons of her classroom? Good. Maybe let the kids learn Spanish from someone competent. Like, we've seen in recent years that public assertions of being racist have now become more common among academia. Last year, we discussed the controversy over acting Northwestern law dean declaring publicly, I am James Spada and I am a racist. He was followed by Emily Mullen, executive director of Major Grifts, who announced, I am a racist and a gatekeeper of white supremacy. I will work to be better. Oh, you're going to be a better gatekeeper of white supremacy? I'd love to see that happen in current year. How would that work out? Now, recently, was Brandy's assistant deans, Kate Slater, has triggered a similar controversy after declaring all white people are racists. Hey, if you're white, just fucking stop going to these colleges. Stop giving them your money. Let them go broke. If you're a white alumni and your college is talking shit about your race, stop giving them money. Now, that's one thing I never fucking understood. I already fucking paid you the exorbitant tuition, and you still want more money out of me for nothing? Now, I could understand that system back when you could actually work a part-time job during the summer and pay for your college. But with tuition prices where they're at now, I really don't understand why anybody would throw any more money at the college they graduated from. They already took most likely hundreds of thousands of dollars from you. They don't need any more. When you could get an entire 4-year degree for like $20,000, maybe I'll throw them another couple thousand if I'm successful. I could understand. Oh, God. Some have gone further. At CUNY, the law dean, Mary Lou Bilek, canceled herself for once referring to herself as a slaveholder in a meeting and arguing for greater protections for minority students. Now, an Oklahoma State PhD student and teacher, Jessica Bridges, has canceled herself from teaching Spanish because she is white. No loss. So Bridges' testimonial on Instagram was picked up by a couple of conservative sites after she participated in a conference at Southern Connecticut State University's Virtual Women's and Gender Studies Conference. Oh, grievance studies. That's what you need to avoid right there. Yeah, and in April, a white accountability and anti-racist indoctrination workshop had a session on white women's work, lessons from engaging in anti-racist work. Bridges used the occasion to read a statement of self-cancellation due to her race. I wish all the SJWs would self-cancel, because at least then they'd leave us the fuck alone. Be the change you want to see. You want less white people in all these industries? How about you fucking quit? You're learning Spanish from a white woman. Oh, you mean like pretty much all the women in Spain? That aren't of Moorish descent anyway? I wish I could go back and tell my students not to learn power or correctness from this white women. I would tell them to stand on their own power. White isn't right. I am holding myself accountable on this journey. Part of my accountability is to continue to struggle and grapple with my internalized white supremacy. Dismantling white supremacy in society looks like dismantling in my heart first. It means that I'm not going to teach Spanish. Accountability is going because there is there's not end to the process. All right, whatever. Sounds like either that was a typo in whoever transcribed it, or this is a very, very typical representation of a teacher right there in current year. Not gonna lie. Yeah, real funny right there. But while this is hilarious for us to laugh at, why don't all of these SJWs do this? Because this is what I talk about all the time. Like, I will give this woman props for actually putting her money where her mouth is. Because usually whenever I see some fucking yuppie talking about how there's too many white people at their company, and you ask them, well, when are you going to quit and let Tyrone have your job then? Like, oh, no, I need to be here so I can make a difference. Like, oh, so you want every other white person but you to lose their jobs. I got it. So, under this theory, no white person should teach Spanish, a European language, to minority students. So, Bridges also described how she corrected her Latinx students not to called themselves Hispanics because it was the colonizers' term, and they are not from Spain. Another teacher at the conference declared that white teachers should only teach in white schools. Hey, you know what? Segregate schools and see what happens. Yeah, let's do it. Let's segregate the schools and watch how quickly they want to walk that back. The import of these comments is that we should return to a type of segregation of teachers by race, with minority teachers teaching minority students, or at schools with a majority of minority students. If there's even a single white student there, though, you can't do it. These views were received with approval from others at the conference. So this is what the U.S. is doing while Russia and China are gearing up to challenge America. You realize that, right? So while Bridges and the other indoctrinators were discussing what sounded like voluntary acts of self-cancellation or selection, any such policy at a public school would violate the Constitution under the 14th Amendment. When have they ever cared about the Constitution? Yeah, it also contradicts the vision of Martin Luther King, who famously declared, I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Yeah, fucking Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the most prolific white supremacists who have ever lived. Obviously, any teacher can self-cancel as an unqualified or inappropriate choice for a given subject or a given student population. However, the use of race as such a determinative criteria without reference to the teacher's other qualifications or skills is deeply troubling. I don't see a problem with it. If the trash wants to take itself out, they should be encouraged. So the question is how far this theory extends. Should white teachers self-cancel in teaching any other language to minority students? Yes. Go ahead. Push this thing to its logical conclusion. That's the quickest way we're going to stop it. And how about teaching race issues in law school or anthropology classes? We have seen several calls being made at universities. We need to have a real discussion on the use of such racial classifications to bar, either by mandate or choice, professors from teaching in these areas. These are faculty who spent their lives researching and writing in areas due to deep personal intellectual connection. A high school teacher may be white, but also be an extraordinary teacher of Spanish. No, if the trash wants to take itself out, let them do it and don't stand in their way. Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. These teachers clearly feel deeply about correcting what they see as the hold of racism and white privilege and indoctrination. That would make for a wonderful and informative debate at universities, which should value the diversity of viewpoints. They haven't done that in a while. However, these conferences often seem to exclude opposing viewpoints on the issues because they're just labeled ismphobes and they're immediately canceled. So you're never going to get any. No, this is the kind of environment that's being created on social media as well. These losers claim to want a discussion, and yet any fucking attempts at discussion is met with one side being canceled, suspended. So they just stop talking. Like, we're not going to talk with you anymore. If you're just waiting for us to argue with you so you can bring the smackdown on us and punish us for something, we're just going to sit back and watch you self-destruct. And then when you're crying about it, we'll let you know, hey, I would have warned you, but you would have just called me a racist and had me fired. So sorry, did this to yourself. They often seem like echo chambers for the participants because they are. I do not mean to make the assumption about all the participants or sessions at the conference. It would be a safe assumption, though. However, this particular session would have benefited from a greater diversity in viewpoints and exploration of the implementations of such racial classifications for indoctrination on the high school and university levels. I've already given up on that shit, and so should all of you. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.